November 1942, North Africa. Right after the Second Battle of El Alamein, the desert was burning under the sun. A German mechanic stood frozen in front of a captured American vehicle. His name was Operator Hans Weber of the Afrika Korps, and he had just been ordered to inspect the most intact enemy trophy they had ever seen, a Willys MB Jeep. Nazi propaganda had told him this machine would prove that American engineering was crude and cheaply made. But when Weber lifted the hood, his hands shaking in the desert heat, he realized something far more terrifying. The truth was written in every standardized bolt. He saw something Germany could not copy, a simple, mass-produced four-wheel drive vehicle built for easy repair and capable of running almost anywhere. This ordinary Jeep showed the Wehrmacht a cold, mathematical truth they had refused to believe. The war would not be won by better tactics or stronger ideology. It would be won by the side that could build more machines. And America was making 12 Jeeps for every one German Kübelwagen. To understand Weber's shock, you need to know what he had been told. For years, Nazi propaganda had convinced German soldiers that American industry was weak. The story was simple and appealing. Americans were soft consumers who made refrigerators and razor blades, not serious military equipment. German engineering, they said, was the pinnacle of technology, precise craftsmanship no mass-production society could ever match. The German military vehicle, the Kübelwagen, seemed to prove this idea. It was light, efficient, and cleverly designed to save materials. But Weber, a professional mechanic since the invasion of Poland, began to notice serious problems. In the desert, Kübelwagens kept breaking down. The sand destroyed their air-cooled engines. Their two-wheel drive system got them stuck in terrain where they needed to move under fire. Spare parts were hard to find, and every repair required custom fitting and skilled labor, something they didn't have time for in war. So when the first intact American Jeep was captured near El Alamein, Weber volunteered to examine it. He wanted to understand what the enemy was capable of. The Willys MB Jeep sat before him, covered in dust and battle scars. It had taken several hits, yet it had still managed to drive toward German lines. Weber approached it with both curiosity and arrogance, the confidence of a man who believed German engineering was the best in the world. He started with the drivetrain and immediately felt a mix of admiration and fear. Unlike the complex, heavy systems German engineers had tested and abandoned, this four-wheel drive setup was simple, efficient, and made for mass production. A single lever could send power to all four wheels, letting it move through sand, mud, or snow. German vehicles got stuck. This Jeep kept going. The tactical implications were huge, and Weber knew it instantly. Then he checked the engine, the L134 Go Devil, an inline four-cylinder. It only made about 60 horsepower, nothing impressive by German standards. But as he studied the design, he realized something more important. This engine was built for soldiers, not master mechanics. Every bolt was standardized. Every part could be swapped with another Jeep. Every repair process of the Jeep was made so simple that even an ordinary infantry soldier could do it. The air filter could be reached without using any tools. Oil could be changed in just a few minutes. The spark plugs were placed where they could easily be replaced, even under fire. Inside the glove compartment, Weber found the technical manual, a short, illustrated guide written in plain language. It didn't require any special training. Its brilliance lay in its simplicity. German vehicles, on the other hand, needed skilled mechanics and special tools. The Jeep only needed a wrench and a bit of common sense. That was the true expression of American industrial philosophy. The chassis revealed an even harsher truth. It was made from heavy steel, designed to take punishment and keep working. The suspension was just simple leaf springs, rough but dependable. No complicated independent suspension like in German vehicles. No delicate engineering that demanded precision manufacturing, just brutally effective design that valued function over elegance. Weber requested production data through intelligence channels. What he learned destroyed any remaining illusions about the nature of the war. Germany was fighting a war, but America was producing one. The Willys Overland plant in Toledo, Ohio, was building Jeeps at a rate that seemed impossible by German standards, over 1,500 vehicles per week. Ford's Michigan factory added another 1,000 each week. Together, the U.S. was turning out over 12,000 Jeeps every month. Germany's total production of Kübelwagens for the entire war barely passed 50,000 units. America made that many in just 4 months. The numbers were brutal and undeniable. For every German military vehicle, America built 12 of its own. This wasn't a production advantage, it was an industrial onslaught. But when Weber thought about what this meant, the reality became even more painful. These Jeeps weren't just for American troops, they were going everywhere. The Soviet Union received thousands through Lend-Lease. The British used them widely. The Free French forces drove them across North Africa. Chinese troops used them in Burma. America had created a single, standardized military vehicle and was supplying it to every Allied army fighting the Axis. The logistical achievement was beyond belief. Weber learned that American supply depots kept detailed parts inventories so that any Jeep could be repaired within hours. Standardization meant that one set of parts worked worldwide. German vehicles, in contrast, came in many models from different production runs, sometimes with unique parts for each machine. The result was a logistical nightmare that was killing them as surely as enemy fire. Weber wrote a detailed technical report in which he described the fundamental philosophical difference between German and American military engineering. Germany designed vehicles that pushed the limits of technology, sophisticated machines meant to squeeze maximum performance from limited resources, built with precision craftsmanship. It was impressive, elegant, and completely unsuited for the kind of industrial war they were fighting. Every German vehicle was a small technical masterpiece, but every loss was something they could never replace. America, on the other hand, designed vehicles with huge safety margins, tough machines that made up for any inefficiency with raw production power and standardized simplicity. A Jeep wasn't elegant, it was effective. Anyone could drive it, anyone could fix it, and it was supplied through a global logistics network that treated vehicles not as treasures, but as expendable tools of war, meant to be replaced, not preserved. German soldiers who captured Jeeps often kept them for their own use, abandoning their Kübelwagens whenever they could. That choice said more than any technical report ever could. The Jeep worked where German vehicles failed. It kept going when others broke down, and when it finally did break, anyone could repair it. Weber's report made its way up the chain of command, only to meet the same fate as many accurate assessments of Allied industrial strength. It was dismissed. The reaction from higher headquarters showed the same ideological blindness that defined Nazi leadership's approach to uncomfortable truths. Maintaining belief was more important than facing reality. A senior officer even scribbled a note on the report. American vehicles are adequate for their purpose, but lack the technical sophistication of German engineering. That single line perfectly summed up the strategic delusion that would cost Germany the war. They confused technical complexity with military effectiveness and paid dearly for it. As 1943 turned into 1944, Weber saw his predictions come true with painful accuracy. The Allied forces advanced with supply lines that never seemed to break. Jeeps were everywhere, doing jobs German planners had never imagined. They towed artillery, carried wounded soldiers, hauled ammunition, and served as mobile command posts and scouting vehicles. Their versatility came from their strong design, and from the certainty that if one Jeep was destroyed, 3 more would arrive the next day. In contrast, the German army was slowly paralyzed, starved of fuel, short on parts, and unable to repair their complex vehicles in battlefield conditions without special tools or expert mechanics. Then, in 1944, the story took a remarkable turn. Thousands of German prisoners of war, including veterans of the Afrika Korps, were sent to camps across the United States. At Camp Hearn in Texas, many were assigned to work in American motor pools, maintaining and repairing the endless flow of military vehicles. For professional soldiers and mechanics like Weber, who ended up in such facilities, it was a lesson that changed how they understood industrial power. They watched American mechanics, many of them barely trained teenagers, perform repairs that in Germany would have required master craftsmen. The difference wasn't in skill, it was in system design. Every part had a number, every repair had a clear procedure, every problem had a ready-made solution that didn't require improvisation, special knowledge, or custom fitting. It was the complete opposite of everything they had been taught about quality and craftsmanship, and it worked better in practice. The American system assumed that soldiers were replaceable, vehicles were expendable, and victory came not from technical perfection or ideological will, but from overwhelming material superiority. For many German POWs, especially those who later returned to help rebuild West Germany, the lessons they learned about practical engineering were more valuable than any formal education. When the war ended and they went home, they carried with them knowledge that would help transform their defeated nation into an economic powerhouse within just a few decades. The German Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle of the 1950s and 60s, was built in part on lessons learned from observing American mass production. The Volkswagen Beetle, Germany's answer to affordable transportation, reflected that same design philosophy: standardization, simplicity, easy repair, and mass production. Former Wehrmacht mechanics became industrial engineers, blending German precision with American practicality. They created a hybrid approach that combined the best of both worlds. In 1998, surviving members of the Afrika Korps held a reunion. American veterans were invited, and the conversations revealed what truly mattered. One German veteran, speaking through tears, not about the battles but about the machines, summed it all up perfectly. "We never had vehicles like yours. Your Jeep could go anywhere and do anything, and when it broke, anyone could fix it. We may have had better tanks, maybe even better tactics, but you had better logistics. You taught us that wars are won in factories, not just on battlefields." It was a hard lesson, but the right one. The final production numbers tell the story with brutal mathematical clarity. During World War II, America built over 640,000 Jeeps. Germany produced only about 52,000 Kubelwagens in the entire war, a ratio of 12 to 1. And that same imbalance existed across every category of military production. American Jeeps served in every theater of the war, climbing the mountains of Italy, fording the rivers of France, crossing the deserts of North Africa, and pushing through the jungles of Burma. They worked in temperatures from -40 degrees F to +120 degrees F. The design succeeded everywhere because it was built for reality, not for theory. General George C. Marshall, the U.S. Army Chief of Staff, once called the Jeep America's greatest contribution to modern warfare. History has proven him right. Army historian Hugh M. Cole later documented how the Jeep's mobility gave Allied forces the strategic flexibility that German commanders, with their limited vehicle resources, simply couldn't match. The Jeep wasn't the strongest, the fastest, or the most heavily armed vehicle of the war, but it was the most effective. When Operator Hans Weber examined that first Jeep in November 1942, he saw more than just a machine. He saw the future, and Germany's place in it. He saw a vehicle designed by a nation that truly understood modern war. That victory required not just courage, ideology, or brilliant tactics, but an industrial system built for scale and endurance. The Jeep represented everything the Third Reich could never embrace. That material superiority mattered more than assumed racial superiority. That realism defeated ideology, and that quantity had its own kind of quality. Weber's report was filed away and forgotten, joining countless other accurate assessments that clashed with Nazi beliefs about the nature of power. But reality doesn't care about ideology. The mathematics of production decided the outcome long before the final battles were fought. The Jeep that taught Germany how to lose also taught the world how modern wars are truly won, not just on the battlefield, but in the factory. Not just through superior strategy, but through superior logistics and industrial capacity. Not through willpower alone, but through the cold arithmetic of production and supply. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden stories that make history come alive, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. It helps bring more of these human stories to light. Like and share this video with anyone who appreciates history, told through the details that truly mattered. In the end, one simple military vehicle became a better teacher than any classroom could ever be. It taught Germany that ideology cannot defeat industrial mathematics. It taught the world that realism beats perfection when lives depend on it. And it reminded us that sometimes the greatest lessons come from the simplest things. The Jeep didn't just help win World War II. It helped rebuild the world that came after, teaching even its former enemies how to turn defeat into prosperity.